Okay. Let's continue. Angela has left the hospital in good health with just a small line of stitches on her forehead hidden by her hair. She let me know in a text message that she appreciates I was there for her and that this wouldn't happen again. On one hand, I do still want to talk about the whole pretending to be engaged to Neil thing, and on the other hand, I feel bad due to her injury and don't really want to bother her about it. It seems Angela has her own set of problems to deal with. I haven't spoken to Neil since that time at the hospital, ever since he left with his father. He hasn't spoken to me, not even a single snide text message. I'm actually a little bit worried. It was only through Angela that I knew Neil was working non-stop. The whole fiancé thing was basically for nothing. Neil's hours didn't get cut back and Angela has expressed her frustrations with it. I can't believe I went along with it for a while and it didn't even help. So much for playing along. I keep myself busy with my boutique. If I need something to lift my spirits, I look at that selfie I took with Neil. That always gets a laugh out of me. I've decided to hire someone to design me some business cards and create a website, and they talked me into an entire new corporate identity with letterheads and all. It's expensive, but it should put me out there and net me more customers. Plus, I already knew I needed a website, I just never got around to getting one. It's not because of Neil or anything. Okay, maybe it is a little bit because of Neil, but I won't tell him that. Jerk. I'm so engrossed in my own thoughts that I don't notice someone entering the store until they're standing in front of me at the counter. Good morning, Valkii. It's Evelyn, Neil's mother. My mouth drops open. I did not expect this unannounced house call. Good morning, I managed to say. I feel my heart rate speed up. I'm nervous standing in front of her. What if she knows? Does she know? I don't know. Why is she here? I got an address from Angela and decided I wanted to come and visit your quaint little shop. Evelyn looks around as she says this. I'm getting flashbacks from the first time Neil dropped by, giving the exact same commentary. Oh well, I'm just here tending the register, I say with a small and nervous laugh. It's a slow day. I see. I feel like she's judging the hell out of my boutique, but I like to assume she has enough class not to voice those negative thoughts. She doesn't seem to be like Neil's father in that sense, that she still continues to be polite. Evelyn starts walking around, looking at the clothing that are showcased on the mannequins. Her hand reaches out to touch the fabric of a long dress. She looks so elegant in my store and sort of out of place. I don't really get rich customers. Angela was the exception, but Angela dresses like she has a party to go to, nothing like Evelyn, who looks like she could be the queen of the country. Are you planning on making your own wedding dress? Evelyn asks. Stumped at the sudden question, I simply look down at my counter to think. Yes, of course I've dreamed of making my own wedding dress. Never did I imagine I'd be fake engaged and would have to fake it for a wedding. Oh god, please don't let it ever get this far. Yes, I decide to answer. I should calm down, it's not like this wedding is happening for real. I've always wanted to make my own wedding dress. I got married in my grandma's wedding dress, she says. Vintage, certainly, but after looking at these pictures for a couple of decades, I regret not wearing one of my own tastes. A lot of women used to do that, I say. It was pretty common in those days. Do you not like your wedding pictures? Evelyn laughs. They're best buried beneath a thick layer of dust. I absolutely loathe them. No, I don't need a reminder that I've been married to Marcus for who knows how many years. It almost sounds like she hates being married to him, and I can totally see why if his interactions with Neil is any indication to how he treats others. But this is not any of my business. Did you marry young? I decide to ask. We were high school sweethearts. We married soon after graduation. That's a long time. I guess they were each other's firsts. It's a good thing that these days people wait until they're in their 20s to get married. I think Neil's at the perfect age to get married. Evelyn suddenly gives me a slight smile. Oh dear, I don't think I've asked how old you are yet. I'm 23, I answer, turning 24 soon. Ah, to be young again, says Evelyn wistfully. I had my doubts that Neil would ever find a suitable partner to marry. I fiddle with my thumbs. It's not like I'm really getting married to Neil, and this conversation is definitely awkward. I hate having to go through this charade. It was only going to be for one night. It wasn't supposed to continue, this pretending to be Neil's fiancé thing. Why is that? Does he scare people off with that sharp tongue of his? I say with a snort. I can definitely see Neil chase away any potential romantic interest with that mouth of his. Sure, he looks handsome, and those lips. But I can't stop fantasizing about Neil in front of his mother. More or less, Neil's a lovely young man. He takes care of his family, but he can be a bit awkward around women his age. It's never gone well. Every girl I introduced to him, she'd run away with tears in her eyes. Sometimes I think he does it on purpose to spite me. I'm trying to imagine Neil going on a blind date with a girl and saying something insulting and her running out on their date. It sounds really funny, to be honest. So you're saying Neil has no experience with girls? I ask, trying to squash the smirk on my face. I think he has plenty of experience scaring them, Evelyn sighs. I tried teaching him proper manners, but he gets too easily flustered. I snort. I can only imagine the number of girls he's scared off. This is comedy gold. Neil, with all this smooth talk and insults, gets flustered around girls. That's why I'm so happy to see the two of you get along. I snap my mouth shut. Me and Neil getting along? In what universe? Haha, do we? I say nervously. So, have you decided on a wedding date yet? What? I blank. What am I supposed to say now? We haven't really decided on anything yet. Haha. I start to break out into a cold sweat. That's alright, my dear. Planning a wedding takes a lot of time and effort. I want you to know that Marcus and me will fully cover the expenses of your wedding, so please involve me in your planning. For the second time that day, my mouth drops open. I almost forgot Neil's supposed to be rich, but the way they're just waving their money around like it's nothing is still absolutely foreign to me. I mean, earlier today I was haggling down the price of my new website with the designer to save a few pennies, and here is Evelyn saying she'll fully cover her wedding like it's pocket change. Rich people live in different worlds. I stand up straight. Right, yes, I will do that. We stare at each other, having nothing else to say. It's awkward. Then I suddenly remember why I was even doing this whole stupid thing. It was to get Neil's hours cut down, especially now that I haven't even seen Neil in a while. By the way, I'd love to have Neil around more. I cringe as I say this, so is it possible for his hours to be cut down at work? He seems a bit exhausted. I will try, but it's Marcus that has the final say, although I'm fairly sure he'll comply once I tell him you're busy planning a wedding. But I'm not... Evelyn looks down at her golden watch, then smiles at me. Sorry, Valkii, I'm afraid I have to cut our time short. I have to leave for a lunch date. Oh, okay, I say. I feel a bit silenced here, like Evelyn really wants a wedding to happen. Enjoy your lunch date, ma'am. Have a nice day, dear. Evelyn gives me a little wave with her hand and then leaves the store. I let out an exasperated sigh. Who knew talking to your fake mother-in-law could be so stressful? I quickly take out my cell phone and I text Neil a message. You owe me, big time. Your mother dropped by my store and wanted to talk about wedding plans. What did you say? That I was only pretending and I actually hate your guts. Clearly you need to return the sense of humor you've bought because it's defective. Now what did you say? I haven't confessed to anything if that's what you mean. How long do I have to keep this up? I'm working on it. Well, work faster. It's exhausting to be your fiancé. After that, Neil no longer replies. It's been the first interaction we had since that day in the hospital. I'll admit I'm a bit worried about him. Maybe he's working himself too much. I miss talking to him as well. I hope Evelyn will pull some strings and relieve his workload. And just to give myself a little boost, I send that picture of me and Neil to his phone, the one where he looks dashingly stupid. I crop myself out of the frame so he's only left with his lovely face. You are mildly infuriating. I burst out into laughter. Alright. 23. How many chapters are there? I really can't remember. A week later and I'm standing in front of Angela's apartment. Earlier today she called me and asked to drop by for dinner. She said she had something important to discuss, and of course I had to dress up nicely as usual. I wonder how well she's doing. I haven't seen her since I dropped her off at the hospital. I nervously ring the doorbell and Angela opens up. There's a small red line on the place where she hit her forehead. The stitches seem to have been removed already. Valkii, says Angela cheerfully. Hurry inside, I need to take the lasagna out of the oven. I quickly slip through the door and see Angela run off towards the kitchen. Evening. Neil's sitting on the couch looking up at me. Of course he'd be here. Hello, I reply, and I sit down on the opposite end of the couch. It's a bit weird to be here again on this couch, as I can only recall the last time I was here, Angela split her head open. I'd rather not go through that again. I fluff up the pillows on the couch out of a nervous habit. After the initial greeting, neither of us say anything, and silence fills up the room. It feels awkward to be around him again, I don't know why. I start playing with the fabric of my dress, having nothing else to do. I take a peek over at Neil and our eyes meet. My heartbeat thumps loudly and I quickly look away from him. Do you always dress up when you come here? Neil asks. I feel overdressed and a bit embarrassed now. Angela always insists on it. Neil turns his head away. You look nice. Oh. Blood rushes to my head. Thank you. That's completely out of left field. You too, I stutter. Oh great, that was a stupid compliment. Neil doesn't look any different from before, still I'm happy to see him again. Neil fixes his tie with a huff. If you're going to take pictures, I'd like to be warned beforehand. I raise my eyebrows at him. Okay. Do you want me to take some pictures together? No, I'm perfectly fine without them, he says quickly. He crosses his arms and looks away. I mean, if you wanted to take another one where I'm fully prepared, then I wouldn't mind. Here I am, come sit at the table, dinner is served. Damn, I wanted to know what Neil was going to say about taking pictures. Does he want some of us together? The thought makes me feel fluttery. I sit at the table and wait patiently as Angela throws a heap of lasagna onto my plate. She does the same for Neil and herself as well. When we're all seated, we start to eat. It's surprisingly good. It's great, right? It's my secret recipe that I learned while I was in Italy, says Angela. She's lying. It's a store-bought all-in-one lasagna recipe, says Neil dully. Angela sulks at Neil. Oh hush, don't spoil my fun. It's lovely either way, I say. By the way, how's your head? I ask. I'm doing just fine. Removed the stitches a couple of days ago, actually. It might leave a small scar, but I've been using this lovely cocoa butter to reduce the redness. Hopefully it'll work out. I hope so too. I can't even see any scar on your head. I say, and silently wish Angela would stop drinking. We eat further in silence until Angela speaks up again. I'm glad you could make it for dinner, Neil. I figured you were too busy at the hospital. As it is, my hours have been cut down this week. Neil's eyes dart over towards me. Regardless, what exactly is the important news you had to share? Ah yes, I both wanted you to know that I've taken the time to reflect on my actions. And? Neil presses. And firstly, Valkii, I want to apologise for roping you into my little scheme with Neil. Know that I had the best intentions. I'll let Evelyn and Marcus know what I did so you don't have to pretend to be Neil's fiancé anymore. After Evelyn visited me at the boutique, I feel it's even more awkward to come out with the truth now. I almost want Angela to tell them we broke the engagement off or something, now that we were fooling them all along. I mean, she came to my store and everything, and I talked about wedding dresses. It's about time. I couldn't keep this up anymore. Mother has been hounding me with questions about a fiancé I never had. And came to my store, I pointed out. I had to give her your address. She practically begged me for it. I'm sorry, my love, says Angela. I hope it wasn't too awkward. Nothing much. We only talked about my future wedding with Neil. There won't be a wedding, snaps Neil, looking a little embarrassed. As I recall, your mother offered to pay for the entire wedding. I could take her up on that offer and simply have one hell of a wedding party, then dump you at the altar. Seems like a fun way to spend a day on someone else's expense, maybe at one of those really big castle estates. I'm not going to let you have your fake fairy tale wedding just so you can leave me at the altar, grumbles Neil. No one in their right mind would leave me at the altar. I'm way too much of a catch. I laugh. Your mother told me this funny little story, how you chased away every single girl she's introduced to you. They were running away in tears. I lean in closer and point my fork at Neil with a devilish smile. His Majesty can't even find a queen. Neil, probably for once in his life, looks like he's at a loss for words. He stares at me with an open mouth, his cheeks flushed with blood. He doesn't know how to respond because he knows it's true, and oh my god, he looks rather adorable when he's all embarrassed. It's payback for all the times he's been mean to me before. I'm sorry, but I have to cut in here. His Majesty? Asks Angela. It's my turn to blush. It's, a nickname for Neil? It sounds a lot sillier when I say it out loud like this. Angela looks at us with a big, knowing smile on her face, ignoring the lasagna entirely. So, we're down to nicknames now, are we? As much as I liked teasing Neil and making him blush, it seems it backfired on me, and now Angela's taken the opportunity to tease us both. Enough about this. What were you trying to say, Angela? Neil tries to change the topic. Right. Angela places her fork down. Well, after last week, I couldn't remember anything. I raise my eyebrows. This is news to me. Did she suffer from amnesia? Valkii, darling, I didn't even know you were there. I can't even recall anything odd happening to me that day. I can remember drinking my third bottle of wine, and after that, it's all blank. There's a missing piece in my memory. I had to explain to her what had happened, Neil points out, that you got an ambulance and went with her to the hospital. Oh, I had no idea that Angela didn't remember. Once I got back home, trying as hard as I could to remember, I saw the little spot of blood near my couch. It was mine, but I didn't recognize it at all. Although I'm pretty glad I didn't bleed all over my carpet. I give her a wry smile, the dark humour bothering me a little. You definitely scared me there, I say. I've been blackout drunk before, but this is the first time it unnerved me so much that I couldn't remember what happened. Angela takes a deep breath, looking serious. So I did some reflecting. And I've decided... She pauses and both me and Neil wait for her to finish, curious to know what she has to say. Exactly what did she decide? I hope it isn't just another one of her silly plans. I've decided to take some time off life and check myself into rehab. What? We both say in surprise. It's going to be a blast. It's a resort out in the Caribbean. You get to relax and chill at the beach for months on end. I mean, I'd like to say I'd be drinking cocktails, but that would defeat the purpose, so I guess I'll be drinking coconut water instead. I'm as much at a loss for words as Neil is. This was unexpected. Rehab? Angela is checking herself into rehab. Come on now, don't act like it's the strangest thing you've ever heard of. I'll just be off on another little adventure of mine. Why? So suddenly? Neil doesn't quite know how to voice his thoughts. Angela is quiet for a bit, looking down at the table. She gives a slight shrug with her shoulders. I guess I needed to face the ugly truth, and after my little accident, I noticed that all I was doing was push the people I love away from me. I'm really sorry. I promise it won't happen again. Angela sounds so heartfelt that I can't help but smile at her. I grab her hand and give it a squeeze. You're going to be okay. You made a wise decision, I say. For how long? Asks Neil. I don't know, until I'm ready to go out into the world again. Could be a month, could be 4. Are you sure you're not just treating it like a regular resort? Well, it certainly has its appeal, says Angela with a giggle, but I vow I will try my best to abstain from any alcohol ever again. I'm done with it. I don't need it as a crutch anymore. She leans closer to Neil. But you need to start making some changes as well, little cousin of mine. I don't want to see another family member work himself to death. Get out there, have some fun, take Valkii out on a date. I will decide that on my own, thank you very much, mutters Neil. Stop worrying about me already. I'll always worry about you, dear. Where would you be if you didn't have such a strong, overprotective cousin around like me? I do just fine, says Neil with a roll of his eyes. My life would actively improve without your antics in it. When are you leaving? I decide to ask. This weekend, I'm flying over sometime Saturday, so it'll be quite quick. I simply flashed my credit card around and a spot opened up in no time. I'll be at the beach enjoying the warm sun on my face in only a few more days. Send pictures, I say with a laugh. Yes, we need to see you remember to cover up at the beach, says Neil. You're such a doll. You know the nude beaches are a thing, right? I feel all warm and bubbly inside sitting here with Neil and Angela talking about how she's going to take some steps forward, stop drinking alcohol and turn her life around. It all sounds like a good plan, like nothing can go wrong. We both congratulate Angela some more for her courage and eat our dinner in peace and laughter. When it's time to go home, Neil offers me a ride in his car. Oh, we always know how this goes. Oh, I'm not comfortable at all. Right. We get inside Neil's car and we're on our way home. I can't believe Angela is going to rehab for her alcoholism problem. I'm so proud of her. Ow. I definitely didn't expect that to be the thing she wanted to tell us. Neil seems to be somewhere else with his thoughts, and I'm kind of curious to know what he's thinking about. You seem kind of quiet. What's on your mind? It's something she said, he says slowly. Like what? She told me not to work myself to death. Her father, he died pretty young, heart attack. It was sudden and quick. Neil takes a deep breath. Angela would tell me how he would be working too much and how she never saw him anymore. During college, they barely had any sort of contact. My family would often say that he worked himself to death. I keep quiet, registering what he said. If Angela's father worked too much, I can see why she would be worried about Neil doing the same thing and why she would be so overprotective of him. I see. I guess that's why she came up with that ridiculous idea to please your parents to let you off the hook. Yes, it makes it understandable, but not excusable. Don't you think we should do something nice for Angela? We are talking about the same woman who tried to pass you off as my fiancé, right? I know, but she admitted her mistake and she's going into rehab. I think that's pretty brave of her. It is. I definitely think we should do something for her before she leaves and we won't see her for who knows how many months. So how about a nice going away present, I suggest. Neil takes his time answering. I guess I don't see the harm in that. Great. Do you think you can pick me up tomorrow so we can head to the mall, or do you have work still? Neil glances at me with a raised eyebrow. I think I can spare some time in the morning. My hours have been cut down this week. I smile to myself, wondering what I should get her. Maybe a nice towel to use on the beach. I'm off in my own thoughts, feeling pretty content, excited to go shopping with Neil tomorrow. When... I look over at Neil, who disturbs me out of my thoughts. When my mother visited, you told her something, didn't you? I shrug innocently. That depends on what you mean by something. I can only imagine the fake praise you've given me, says Neil with a glare, but that's not what I was referring to. Then pray tell, what are you referring to? Neil looks bashful all of a sudden, which is an odd change of pace. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have had the time to take you to the mall tomorrow. Huh? What do you mean? Weren't for what, exactly? He's confusing. Oh! He's talking about me asking Evelyn if she could lower Neil's workload. That, right, yeah, I figured I might as well turn an awkward situation into something useful. Neil flashes a slight smile. I thank you for that. And just like that, I'm blushing again. He's thanking me, truly and honestly thanking me without some hidden agenda or an insult. I wasn't prepared at all for the Neil this evening. For the Neil of this evening? First, he says I look nice without any sort of prompt, and now he's giving me this cute smile and thanking me, showing me all of these sides of him. Where did the mean and pompous Neil go? I glance over at Neil, who went back to looking at the road. I can see we are almost at my house. So, I say, trying to fill up the silence, what time tomorrow? Will you still be okay if it's closed tomorrow? He asks instead. No worries, me and my 4 customers can wait another day, I joke. Neil snorts in response. Very well, I'll come by at 10, don't be late. We drive a little further until Neil stops. We're at my home. Thanks for the ride, have a nice night, I tell Neil and open the car door. Sweet dreams. Honestly, I don't know what's gotten into him today, but he's a lot more, how should I put this, gentle? Kind? I didn't think those words could ever possibly describe Neil. I step outside and close the door. I feel Neil's eyes on me as I walk towards the front door. When I try to reach for my keys, I realize I don't have my purse with me. Frantically, I turn around and see that Neil has rolled down the car window and is holding my purse out for me. You forgot this, he says. Again, why would you not be spicy? I quickly head back to the car and see that Neil is stretching his body over the passenger seat to be able to hand me my purse. I reach for the purse, feeling my fingertips touch the fabric, and they slide down until I feel Neil's warm hand. My heart starts beating faster in anticipation for the crazy stunt I'm just about to pull. I bend down and lower myself through the car window until I'm face to face with Neil. His golden eyes widen at the sight of me. He's surprised I got so close. Feeling a surge of electricity run through me, I take the plunge and I lean forwards, my lips pressing against his. My heart's beating like crazy and I can hear Neil let out a raspy breath of air. And just like that, I lean back, pulling myself out of the car and grabbing my purse. Yeah, I forgot this, I say, holding a finger to my lips. I give him a sweet smile, then turn on my heel again to walk to my door. I fumble around nervously with my keys, trying to hurry the hell up inside, because honestly, I have no idea what possessed me to act like such a flirt. When I finally manage to open the door, I quickly shut it and let out a sigh. I can't wait to see him again tomorrow. Shopping episode. The next morning, exactly on time, Neil picks me up and I'm a bundle of electrifying nerves. Morning, I greet him as I sit down in his car. It's hard to make eye contact with him after our goodnight kiss last night. I like it that it remembers this stuff, but also I don't know if... because I've never played the innocent side and I probably never will. I don't know if he then takes the initiative. I don't know. Oops, oh, that's how you get rid of it. Good to know. Good morning, Valkii, Neil says in a gruff voice. He starts the engine and we drive away. Valkii, the way he says my name like that, it gives me chills. I like it. I recline back into the chair and muse about our day and what kind of shops we can visit. There's a bunch of souvenir shops, gift shops, and some home decoration stores that Angela might like. We can check them all out if Neil is up for it. I wonder if it will be any fun to shop around with Neil. That's also when I realise, like this, it's practically a date, no? I even dressed up nicely. I look over at Neil and I feel butterflies well up in my stomach when I recall our brief kiss last night. There's been so much kissing between us, but not enough talking or acknowledging it. Neither one of us has mentioned anything, and I feel like if I bring it up directly, it would be far too awkward. It might also break the entire spell we're under, making things worse for the both of us. I can easily see Neil getting flustered, which in turn makes him more irritated, and he'll likely say something rude again, perpetuating this never-ending cycle of Neil running his mouth off and me getting angry at him. Right now, he's been mellow, a side of him that he's only recently been showing me, a side I don't quite dislike. So to keep the peace for now, I keep my mouth shut. We arrive at the mall together. I've been here a few times with Sarah, so I know the area a little bit, and if I recall correctly, there should be a small gift shop somewhere near the end. The mall isn't as busy in the morning on a weekday, so me and Neil can take it easy. I see a couple walk in front of us, holding hands. I glance to my side at Neil, who is walking with a fair distance between me and him, like there's an invisible force field between us. Do I smell awful or something? There's no reason to keep me at arm's length. A bit annoyed at the distance, with the next step I take, I close the distance a bit. Do you have anything in mind, or do you just want to wander around aimlessly? Asks Neil as he turns to look at me. What's wrong with wandering around aimlessly? I ask innocently. Neil scrunches up his nose and shoves his hand into his pockets. I don't have that luxury. I do still need to get to work today. I can't afford to take the entire day off. Oh, he doesn't have the whole day? I'm a bit bummed that we can't spend a lot of time together. Alright, how about we try some of the gift shops around here? There's bound to be a nice gift we can give to Angela. Suddenly, I can smell something amazing. There's a food stall around somewhere that's selling freshly made waffles. Lured by the scent, I dash forward. Hey, where are you going so fast? Neil calls out as he rushes after me. My stomach starts to grumble as I come across the small food cart. There's a bunch of Belgian waffles on display, and some fresh ones being prepared. There's chocolate-covered ones with whipped cream, ones with strawberries. I'll take one with all of the above. I take in a deep breath. The smell is mouth-watering. My stomach agrees with me and growls again. You're hungry? Neil claims. Gee, what gave it away? I say with a roll of my eyes. Want some too? Neil looks over at the display, then shakes his head in an affirmative no. I'll pass on the pastry. It's called a Belgian waffle, and they're delicious. One please, with some whipped cream. I give the man his money for the waffle. Here you go, young lady. Is the boyfriend sure he doesn't want one as well? The man asks with a warm smile. Completely ignoring the boyfriend comment, I take the warm waffle from his hands and immediately take a bite. The yummy caramelized sugar crystals mix with the cream and melt away in my mouth. I sigh in pleasure. This is to die for. I'm quite sure, says Neil, and we're not to... You want a bite of mine? It's terrific. I hold the waffle in front of him. Neil's face contorts into a weird grimace and he backs away slowly. No thank you. Determined not to give up, I take a step closer. Come on, just a small bite. Don't you think it smells delicious? One bite and I'll stop bugging you. He's still looking at me suspiciously, but I simply give him my best smile and wait. It seems to have worked because Neil slumps down, his shoulders in defeat, and sighs. One bite then, he says. Neil moves closer to me, his eyes flutter closed and his lips part until his mouth rips off a tiny piece from my waffle. His golden eyes open and they're looking straight at me as he pulls back. The entire scene makes me feel a little bashful, like we're really on a date together. Neil straightens his back and gives me a serious look as he swallows. And what does the boyfriend think? I have a lot of different flavours available, says the man again. I feel myself blush a little with the second boyfriend comment and look down at my shoes. Neil growls and suddenly grabs me by my arm and pulls me away from the cart. Hey, quit pulling, I yell. I don't want to keep wasting time. We're here for a present for that crazy cousin of mine, nothing else. I pout at him. Fine, just stop pulling me along. Let me finish my waffle. Neil's hand releases my arm and we're walking at a normal pace, side by side. I finish off my waffle in silence. Then all of a sudden, Neil stops walking as we pass by a store window. He's looking at some home decoration store. I join him and peer over his shoulder to see what he's looking at. It's an art sculpture, bronze-coloured and twisted into weird angles. I wonder if Neil likes it. You want to buy that for Angela? I ask, because I'm pretty sure she could make it herself. Obviously, I'm not going to gift her something that is basically her job to make, says Neil while he narrows his eyes at me. Well, do you want to go look inside then? I suppose. So bashful. Just say you want to. We walk inside the store. It's full of little arts and crafts items lining the walls, mostly made out of wood with inspiring text printed on them like love quotes. There's quite a few heart-shaped products as well. It's all pretty feminine and kinda cute, which is why Neil stands out like a sore thumb in this store. There are only other women around at the moment. I can't imagine guys would visit the store on their own, but Neil doesn't seem to notice and browses the shelves on his own, looking around without a care. He picks up a vintage candle holder and inspects it carefully. I guess I should look around for something as well. I wonder if this is even Angela's style, since she seems more streamlined and modern, not so romantic. Maybe Neil likes this kind of style. I pick up a small porcelain plate covered in cherry blossoms. It's cute, but I don't think Angela would like this. I put it back down and walk towards Neil. He's looking at a large cream-coloured vase with his eyebrows furrowed together as if he's in deep thought. Like it? I ask him. Neil looks over at me, a bit surprised I was there. Do you like this kind of style? I ask again. Oh, he shakes his head. Not particularly, no. Then why are you looking at it like you want to buy it? I tease him. Neil trails his fingertips across the shell of the vase, feeling the texture. I'm interested in the way it was made, he says. It seems almost everything in here is handmade with care. I look around and do notice a lot of items don't have duplicates, and if there are more than one, they look slightly off. They all seem to be unique. I hadn't really paid any attention to that, but I guess Neil does. For a second there, I thought you were totally into heart-shaped things, I say with a giggle. Neil simply looks at me like I'm nothing but a nuisance. Anyway, weren't you the one who said you didn't want to waste time? Let's look for something for Angela. I I got a little distracted, Neil admits with a shy look. Let's keep looking. I think we should get her a towel, I say. You know, since she's going to the Caribbean. What makes you think she doesn't have an expensive collection of towels lying around already, says Neil. I don't care. Let's give her one with some funny text on it or something. I'm sure she doesn't have that. Neil grumbles under his breath, but I can't quite make out what it is, so I leave it alone. I browse through the aisles and see lots of funny little gifts. I pick up a white coffee cup. It says Queen in a fancy font. I pick up another one. This one says King. The third one I pick up and I laugh out loud. Neil, look, look. Or does it say His Majesty? I call out for him and happily show him the cup I'm holding. What is it? He says and turns to look at me. I shove the cup in his face. Look, it says Your Majesty. It's like they made it especially for you. Neil does not look amused. In fact, he looks like he could start shooting laser beams from his eyes right now. I give him a sheepish smile. Neil? There's someone behind us that called out to Neil. I crane my neck around to see who it is and my eyes widen in surprise. Oh crap. Is Mum? Neil turns around to face. Mother, what are you doing here? Oh, I knew my eyes weren't deceiving me. I saw you both enter this store and I had to go say hi. Evelyn smiles at me and I just about drop the cup that's in my hands. Oh no, what is she doing here? Hello, I greet her, feeling put on the spot. Evelyn gives me a strange look, cocking her head to the side. I don't think Angela told her already about the fake fiancé thing. Does it mean we still need to pretend, or should we stop pretending and tell her ourselves? I don't know. Are you both out on a date? Yes, we are, says Neil in a steadfast voice, and he suddenly grabs my hand and pulls me to his side. Well, one dilemma solved, I guess. We're continuing this charade. Neil stands in front of me, almost like he's shielding me from his mother. Are we now? I whisper to Neil. I don't really feel like continuing to pretend. Are you buying something in particular? Asks Evelyn. No, just window shopping. And what brings you here? Evelyn laughs. Sometimes I do enjoy going to the mall as well. There's no harm in doing a little shopping on my own. Neil gives her a forced smile. I see. He then tugs on my hand to get me to turn around. Valkii and I will continue our date now. Give my regards to father. That I will. You two enjoy your date, you little lovebirds. Neil gives a curt nod, then he speeds out of the store, dragging me behind. He doesn't stop walking in this fast pace until we've rounded a corner, and then we both sigh in relief. Neil, you're kinda hurting me. He's been squeezing my hand real hard just now, and it's starting to feel sweaty. He promptly lets go and backs away from me. Angela hasn't told her yet, says Neil. I can't do it myself. Angela has to be the one to tell her. I know, it would just be awkward. Not that it isn't already, but having to tell your mother you lied straight to her face, I don't think she'd speak to you in a while. Neil stops talking, thinking over my words. I don't think it matters as much anymore whether she hears it from Angela or me. She's going to rain down her wrath on me either way. I feel bad for Neil. It wasn't like he had much of a choice. Then again, he did ask me to continue to pretend, so it's not like he's completely innocent. I guess he gets what's coming to him then. I wonder what his mother would do. Cut contact? No, I don't think so. What kind of wrath would that be? I ask curiously. Neil slumps against the wall. Arranged marriage dates. There's a look of disgust gracing his face, like he's been through this a bunch of times. I snort and then quickly shut up again. Didn't you already do those kinds of dates? You know, your mother said you made them cry. I didn't make them cry, he yells defensively. They decided all on their own to get offended. I can imagine it all too well, the things you must have said to those poor girls. Neil steps closer to me, his body looming over me ominously. His golden eyes have a spark in them, like a fire. I stare right back at him too, challenging his stare. Tell me, Valkii, what are the kinds of things I must have said? He growls at me. Oh, I don't know. How about telling them that you should stop seeing each other, I glare at him. Neil bites on his lip, matching my glare. I don't recall seeing you in tears, he sneers. Probably because I'm used to you being an asshole. I brush it off. It's kind of problematic. I am not... And because I also know it's not the truth, I add. Probably. Neil gives me a sideways glance, trying to figure out a response to that. He's all thrown into a tizzy with my words. I kind of like it. He then looks away once more. I think I'm starting to understand Neil a little bit here. He says stuff he doesn't mean when he gets all embarrassed, but words still hurt though. By the way, he says. What? Neil points to the tip of his nose. You got a bit of cream right here. I stop dead in my tracks to look at the glass window next to me and see my own reflection. As Neil told me, there's a small dollop of cream right on the tip of my nose. Hurriedly, I wipe it off and my cheeks flare up. How long has that been there? I ask, embarrassed. What if Neil's mother saw me like this? Since the first bite you took, says Neil with a snigger. No. Oh god, it was totally there when I saw her. No wonder she gave me that strange look. Why didn't you say something? Because it's so much more fun seeing you walk around like this. Neil starts to laugh at me. I'm blushing so hard even my ears feel like burning. I was right, you are an asshole, I yell at him. I just want to hit him so bad. Call me an asshole all you want, but I wasn't the one who looked like a clown all this time. Neil, I yell at him. Neil won't stop laughing, and instead he picks up the pace, intending to leave me behind. Relationship goals, am I right, guys? Don't you run away from me, I start to chase after him. We spend the next last hour together, carefree and joking around until we buy a towel for Angela and Neil has to go to work. It's the first time I felt so relaxed around Neil. I never would have imagined there would be a day where Neil and I would be teasing each other in a non-violent way. Alright, I will see you in the next one.